West Denver. Sleep deprived and heavily caffeinated.
All right, let's do this then.
This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
I don't agree with that.
They don't always agree, but hey, at least they have coffee.
Coffee.
And each other.
I love you, man.
God help us.
I want to bless him. We need all the help we can get.
Now here's Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe. The Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 KNUS.
It's a great intro for the 9 a.m. hour for the Jeff and Bill Show. Iggy texting in, Jeff and Bill would debate the proper way to install a toilet paper roll.
Yeah. And there is a right and a wrong way on that. It's outlined in the patent, actually. No, seriously. If you go back to the original patent of the toilet paper roll.
There is.
Yeah, there is
You
a right
and
and a wrong
I
way.
would debate everything, though. That's the point.
Yeah, probably.
And there is a right way, and it's lower taxes. It is 9 a.m. Mile High City, Jeff and Bill Show. This Wednesday, July 2nd, 2025. P. Diddy getting off on just about all the charges with the exception of one. And we'll get into that with news and comment with Blake Olson. So we'll give you all the latest on that. I used the wrong phraseology there. That was not. Didn't mean to. All right. 9 o'clock hour, we have Brandi Bradley. She's going to join us, state representative, because she is seeking to become the new House Republican whip down there at the state capitol. That means it's going to be her job to chase around all the votes. This is happening after Ryan Armagost is heading out to Arizona. So she would like folks to reach out to Representative Minority Leader Rose Puglisi, Assistant Minority Leader Ty Winters, and the caucus chair Anthony Hartzog to express your endorsement for a principled, dedicated leader, a mama bear for our caucus as the next minority whip. I feel like in today's culture that has negative content. Minority whip. Oh, goodness. We're losing control of it. Let's get to news and comment with Mr. Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Good morning. It's Wednesday, 74 and sunny in Denver, expecting a high of 93 today. News is presented by the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. Now is the time to stand with Israel. Call 800-301-1188. That's 800-301-1188. Or go to 710knus.com and click on the big red Stand with Israel banner at the top of the page. Our top story.
Well, we're going to be voting on that later today, so I guess you'll just have to stay tuned and see how I vote on that. But secures the border. No tax on tips. No tax on overtime.
Colorado Congressman Gabe Evans on with Jeff and Billy last hour, CD8, about to vote on the one big, beautiful bill on Capitol Hill. Evans says it's best for the country.
This puts, in Colorado, about $2,000 in hard money back into the pockets of your average working family of four. This thing increases tax exemptions for the bottom 85% of wage earners. And then in terms of like actual, just overall wage growth, purchasing power, because there's a lot of other stuff in this bill, we're talking somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000 in just more purchasing power for your average working family of four in Colorado. So border security, lowering the cost of living, more money back in people's pockets. This thing is a win.
Breaking last hour, Sean Diddy Combs being found guilty on 2 counts in his sex crimes trial in New York City. He was found not guilty of racketeering and sex trafficking. Combs was convicted on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. He mouthed "thank you" to the jurors after the verdict was read. DJ,
now I got to ask you, Blake. Pete Boyles and I were just talking about this. Mm-hmm. Is this another O.J. Michael Jackson get off the charges because you're wealthy type of thing?
I think so. And popular.
Yeah.
Especially in New York City, right? I think that is definitely one of those cases where he's likable to a lot of people in that generation.
Do you remember when Chris Rock pointed out that that OJ got found not guilty, not because he's black, but because he's wealthy?
Yes, I do.
If he was Orenthal James, the bus driver, he would be Orenthal James, the murdering bus driver. But because he's famous, and he's got the best attorneys, and God only knows what was happening in that courtroom. I can't even imagine. Can you? I mean, think about the eye contact that's going on that you don't know about. You know, right?
I've just been, I'm looking at that and I'm like, when you're famous like that and you're very popular to an entire generation, and starstruck and what have you, and then he told them thank you. He basically whispered that to them, and
you're invited to my next freak off.
Exactly. God only knows what they're invited to after this. Jeez. Oh my goodness!
But Pete came by and said, was this a big point of discussion? And honestly, not really. We've had Rory O'Neill on a few times to talk about it, and not a lot of phone calls or texts. Doesn't seem.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have a murder with OJ.
Right,
you don't have kids involved like you did with MJ.
Right.
So
exactly.
I mean, it's just kind
allegedly. You don't. I've heard other things.
With P. Diddy.
Yes. I've heard those stories, but and you've seen a lot. There's a lot on the internet, but I would agree with you. It's kind of like rock and roll rapper, superstar. Boys will be boys type, and a lot of money, popular, skating, I think you're right, though. In this case, I think that is definitely the situation. I mean, a lot of people love the guy, so he's thanking his lucky stars right now, or thanking God. DJT went to visit Alligator Alcatraz on Tuesday, and the lefties didn't like it a bit.
I mean, I don't think you can just turn a blind eye to it. I think it's anti-American. I think the fact that you're going to have individuals and populations in there that are stacked on top of each other,
they're not stacked on top of each other. Give me a break. It's like better conditions than most prisons.
Without due process. The location, the manner.
By the way, they had due process, but the only due process they didn't go through was at the border. Continue.
Which was done, and the language, right, the dehumanizing language employed by the authorities here.
Oh yeah, the dehumanizing language, right. They were so unprofessional when they went about this.
There's nothing about this facility, about this detention camp, that is not cruel and inhumane.
The whole thing is extremely dehumanizing. Trump and DHS have, and Ron DeSantis, frankly, have treated immigrants and migrants in a dehumanizing way, and I think that they definitely want to scare people.
Yes, they do. Do not come to this horrible place. It is dehumanizing everywhere. DJT is calling on Hamas to accept what he's calling the final proposal for a 60-day ceasefire with Israel. He said that Israel has agreed to the U.S. conditions and that he hopes it brings peace to Gaza. He also warned that if Hamas doesn't accept the deal, the conflict will only get worse. A $16 million settlement has been reached between the owner of CBS News and President Trump over that 60 Minutes interview with the then Vice President Kamala Khan. Paramount Global said Tuesday the settlement includes plaintiff's fees and costs and will be paid to DJT's future presidential library. It does not include a statement of apology or regret. 72 in Centennial, 73 in Greenwood Village, 74 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue Let me see. What's my name here? Oh, Blake Olson.
My name's Blake.
Blake. Do you want to go to war, Malaki? I'm for real.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
A typical way to start July here for Denver in the Front Range. Warm temperatures, partly cloudy skies, and a few thunderstorms. Highs today near 90. A few widely scattered afternoon and evening thunderstorms. Lows tonight near 60. Warming to the low to mid-90s Wednesday. An isolated thunderstorm late. A better chance of thunderstorms, 80s and low 90s Thursday. Upper 80s with a few late-day thunderstorms for the 4th of July Friday. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free, no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
All right, Brandi Bradley's going to join us here in just a second. State representative. She wants to be the new minority whip down at the Colorado State Capitol. We'll talk to her about that. Let's talk advanced hair restoration. Everyone's always asking what makes advanced hair restoration different. Allow me to share, along with some details, and get this, their once-a-year summer savings event. First, Bill, I got to text Brandi here real quick. She's going to call in, I think, from a different number.
Go ahead. Yeah, so Jeff is telling you about our friends at Advanced Hair Restoration. Now, here's the thing. You know, as you get older, you start looking in the mirror. You start looking and you see things that are going away. And at one point or another, you're going to turn to that mirror and you're going to say, where'd the old dude come from? And part of that is how you feel about yourself. And it sounds very, very strange until you experience it, that losing your hair actually does really impact your self-esteem. Yep. You feel like you're not the same guy. And okay, dudes, listen, we're going to talk real here just for a sec. We all know there's that point in your life in which, you know, some of the ladies and stuff, you stop getting that side eye. There was a moment in your life in which, and you're so conscious of it. You feel like, you know, you're down at that other side of the hill. That is this just the downslide, and you don't feel as young as you could. It sounds very strange, but getting this hair replacement, yes, and it happens through all ages of life. Buddy of mine in college was losing his hair. He was mostly bald by 32. So this isn't necessarily just about aging. This is about making sure that your hair looks great. Now, the best thing about this is not necessarily about the idea of, you know, stopping the flow and taking pills and everything else. This is a treatment that is medically proven that is going to give you that natural, fuller set of hair in perpetuity. This is not some program or anything else that you're going to be on. This is something that they're going to take care of you, and you are going to have that lock of hair like Tom Moeller over in our newsroom has, and he's in his 80s. Pissing me off how much hair he has. Yeah, you got to talk to him.
720-459-HAIR, 720-459-HAIR. One-day treatment, life-changing results. Your new hair guaranteed to grow. Before and afters at advancedhair.com, advancedhair.com. All right, joining us now is Representative Brandi Bradley, state rep here in Colorado in the Douglas County area. She's making a move right now to become the new minority whip. Yeah. This position has opened up in part because Ryan Armagost heading out to Arizona. So Brandi, first of all, thank you for taking time to join the Jeff and Bill Show. Yes, tell us why you're best to serve in this capacity.
Good morning, guys. Thanks so much for having me on. It's been a minute, so I appreciate the time. I just think that I'm ready for a leadership role. I think we need a grassroots conservative to take a leadership role and to get people fighting for our state. Now is the time, right, to continue to fight to make our state safer, more affordable, and I feel like I'm the best person for the job.
Have you spoken with Rose Puglisi? Is she the House Minority Leader? What does she think of you taking on this role?
You know, I haven't spoken to Rose. She's off to Italy with her family for the next 3 weeks, so didn't want to bother her with that news and, prayed about it, talked to my family about it, and they felt like it was the right time for me to make that decision and make that move.
Now, I want to ask you about working together with House Republicans, because we've been through seasons where Republicans have been kind of button heads down at the Colorado State Capitol. Under Rose's leadership, I kind of look at it and go, it seems to be working pretty well. I don't know about all the conversations you guys have behind closed doors. Can you work together with Rose Puglisi, Ty Winters, Anthony Hartsook, have a unified front in confronting the Democrats, or could this be a challenge to Rose's leadership? Your thoughts?
It will be a challenge to Rose's leadership, quite honestly, but that doesn't mean we can't work together. I'm not a yes woman. I'm not going to let the lobby corps dictate what I do, how I vote. I'm going to be there to represent my constituents and the conservative constituents in the state. And sometimes that comes with disagreements or arguments or different beliefs. That doesn't mean that we can't work together, though.
That's Brandi Bradley. She's a state representative. She wants to be minority whip down at the Colorado State Capitol. What does the minority whip do? Help people understand that.
So the minority whip makes sure that everyone's on the floor. They make sure that they're there for the important votes, and they kind of whip people into talking and discussing and getting up there to fight against bad bills. And so, I've done that already. I believe I go up there, I speak on almost every bill that I possibly can. And, I think it's just about leadership and getting people more involved to talk and discuss the bad politics that are happening in our state capitol.
What do you think Republicans need to do down there to be more effective? I mean, you all raise the profile of some of these awful bills. The Democrats shut you down. They violate your free speech rights. They gavel you down if you use the wrong word, for instance, at the Colorado State Capitol. So how do you effectively combat what is essentially a blank check from radical leftist progressives to pass any law they want down there?
Well, we have stopped a lot of bad bills going forward with great amendments. The Democrats hate hearing us talk. They hate trying to have the patience. All they have to do is listen, right? Just listen, play Candy Crush, whatever they need to do, whatever they're doing while we're speaking. But so many times that they're like, what amendment do you want? Give us the amendment and we'll work on it. So we have the possibility and the chance of making bad bills less bad by passing amendments. But in committee, it's getting things on the record, Jeff. With social media, with radio shows like this, we're getting the word out to the people of Colorado. If you have 700 people testify against a bill last year, 1312, we know we're getting the word out. We know we're getting outside the Capitol what is actually happening in the legislative body, and it's been proven to be working.
That's State Representative Brandi Bradley. She wants to be the new minority whip down under the Golden Dome. Representative Bradley, as usual on this show, Jeff comes at this from one angle, and I'm going to come at it from the entirely different angle. So Jeff was talking about ways that you can stop the Democrats from doing crazy things. I'm wondering, do you see any lines of agreement? Do you think there is any space, and I'm not talking about all of the Dems, but do you think there are some persuadable Dems down there that can get on board with some conservative ideas? If so, generally, what do you think those paths might be?
Oh, yeah, I have great relationships. I know people like to put it out there that I don't work well with Democrats. I have great relationships with Democrats, some that I've been talking to all summer. The child rape bill is a great example, right, Bill? I mean, that was a bipartisan bill. There is definitely room, and I think in this budget deficit, there's a lot of room to come to the center and look at what we need to repeal and get together on and make this budget better for the people of Colorado, affordable housing, public safety issues. And I do think there's a lot of Democrats that want that for their party.
I like what you said there, Representative Bradley, and I want to hang on to the idea of budgetary issues and how profligate our state Dems have been, especially recently. And do you think there may be space down at the Capitol for a message of more austerity? And what I mean is, okay, we're not going to come around and balance the budget immediately, but do you think that there are some lawmakers that can be persuaded that conservative ideas of being more fiscally responsible will really help our state? Is there space for that kind of economic talk down there?
Bill, that's a great question. I would be hopeful. I'm always kind of the glass is half full. I think with this budget crisis that we're in, they're going to have to really look at what they're trying to pass. I mean, the governor's vetoed 11 of their bills. So they need to be listening to their constituents saying, we can't afford to live in this place. We can't afford healthcare. We can't afford these things. And we've really got to look at these policies and make it more affordable and a safer place for Coloradans to live.
It's Representative Brandi Bradley. Give us an update on the procedure here. When will House Republicans determine who's going to be the minority whip?
It sounds like the replacement for Ryan Armagost will be on September 1st, which will then put us into a caucus meeting to vote for the new minority whip. And, in between that, there might be a special session is what we're hearing, end of July, beginning of August. So we shall see. Yeah, what's the special session about? I mean, you guys should be done, right? The legislative session runs from January to May. There's something like 500 bills that got passed. Now the governor wants you back for something? What's that all about? Which I will tell you means taxpayers are going to have to pay for nonpartisan staff to come in, right? They're going to have to pay our per diem and gas fees and all of those things. I believe it's about the big, beautiful bill and how they're going to cut some funding. And we have decided that money grows on trees in the state, and we're going to have to pull it back. It's like when I tell my children, yeah, you can use the debit card, but there's not an unlimited supply of cash funds on there. And we don't seem to understand that in the government in Colorado. So the Colorado state government having to respond to what's going to happen federally, and it seems like Jared Polis, Phil Weiser, the rest of them are very happy to be in an adversarial role against Donald Trump, using taxpayer dollars for lawsuits, and at the same time experiencing cuts because they want to fight against Donald Trump. Welcome to the great state of Colorado. Well, Brandi Bradley, I know it's vacation time. You're spending time with your family. Thank you for taking time to join us, update us on your efforts to become part of the leadership infrastructure down at the Colorado State Capitol. Look forward to seeing what happens there, and for taking time to join us this morning.
Thank you. And good luck. Appreciate it.
Hey guys, always a pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Brandi Bradley is a ton of fun to follow on
she is.
Social media. She's a real fighter. Bradley for CO is her X account, x.com/Bradley for CO. And she hinted at it. Maybe she might bring a spicier element to what Rose Puglisi has going down there at the Colorado State Capitol. Is that something you want to see? You want to see Republicans in kind of a more combative adversarial role against Democrats? And Rose does lots of fighting against what the Democrats are doing down there. I'm not saying that. But Brandi Bradley, definitely a mama bear. Definitely, I'm going to go down and stick it to you right from the point of the well and fight against the Democrats and all that stuff. So would you like to see her in that role? Love to hear from you. Give us a call, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. Speaking of Danny C., love this guy. And if you've been involved in an injury, an accident, car accident, that type of thing, the guy you got to call, Dan Caplis with Dan Caplis Law. He has spent 40 years of his life getting justice for the people of Colorado. He really cares about putting people first and will fight for you. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado state history. Dan Caplis Law is so trusted, he's the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Caplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. So if you need Dan's help, give him a call. Here's the phone number, 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551, or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S law.com. Peter Boyles is going to join us next, going to preview his show this weekend. It has to do with guns. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Great interview with Brandi Bradley. She seeks to become the House Minority Whip down at the Colorado State Capitol, and they're coming back possibly for a special session.
Yeah, that and Diddy only found guilty on one charge.
Yeah, Diddy.
Yeah, trafficking just across state lines, like the easiest one. The one that he's like, I did that. All the rest of the stuff, nothing. Wow. He paid for lawyers. I'm so surprised. Nice job. Nice job. Jeez. Yeah, and then
no more cameras at the freak-offs, apparently.
Yeah, and also I love the text message. Like, can you imagine the freak-off that's going to go off for this celebration? Yeah, and again, if you are on that prosecution team, ooh, not good.
Well, joining us live in studio, you know the name, you know the voice, legendary radio host Peter Boyles, still on the radio these Saturdays from 9 to 1.
Then I got you guys next week.
Yeah, and then you're filling in for us as we go on and enjoy our vacation. So, Pete, I mean, we were talking legendary bulls for rodeo. Yeah. You're right up there with Bodacious and Tornado.
Yeah,
man.
right. I saw them.
Legendary. Pete, what do you got covered in this Saturday?
Well, today is enacting the Colorado gun laws, the new gun laws, and they're bad. And we're going to have some folks on to talk about it. But Colorado has recently enacted these new gun laws that took effect as we speak. And the laws primarily focus on firearms safety, storage, and that's the verbiage that they use. It's none of my business whether or not you carry a firearm in your car or truck, or anybody's business for that matter, but the state is making it their business. And now you have to have it under lock. So what is the purpose of having a firearm in your truck or your car?
Hold on a second, guys stealing my car. Allow me to unlock the gun.
Yeah. The concealed carry permits, restrictions on sales of some semi-automatics, but and also now for concealed carry, and again, terrible. Not my business, but I have a concealed carry permit. You have to now have enhanced training. Again, new requirements for obtaining, renewing. Now you have to have live fire training.
You have to pass tests.
Background checks, and particularly gun stores. And I have a lot of friends that own gun stores, and they believe that the state is trying to put them out of business.
Well, I think they're exactly correct in that.
I do too.
And that's and you're seeing a number of them having to shut down. And why not head to Wyoming or Texas? Right, it's a business.
Well, a dear friend of mine is on his way to. He's going to Idaho. He's going to open, and I think you know who it is, but he's leaving. He's taking everything and he's going. And the other thing too is the Colorado grocery strike. Will people or do people cross the picket line? And this is not a union state, but where I grew up, nobody would have crossed the picket line. But
Bill and I have talked about that in the past, not on this latest one.
Yeah.
Do you cross picket lines?
No.
Really?
Oh,
I walk right through.
My father, my grandfather, they'd come back and haunt me. But it's Safeway and Albertsons and Local 7. Yeah. And no, I don't cross picket lines.
Billy doesn't either.
No way, no how. Yeah, and we avoided Safeway over the weekend, and their deli and bakery in our neighborhood was shut down. And until the strike's resolved, I will not spend money there. But again,
I mean,
for me, it's convenience.
Is it this kind of idea that you always side with the workers? Was that why? Is that why you don't cross the picket line? Because I'm a workers guy first. Because I mean, do you believe in what they're asking for is correct, or sometimes what the folks are asking for outrageous?
Well, the key issues. This is, if you don't mind, Billy.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Is they call it understaffing, the health care cuts, and the concerns about long-term stability of pension funds. They're legitimate. I mean, I make the case that you guys are going on paid vacation. Thank the union for that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the history of labor in this country, we have perhaps the most bloody history of labor organizing than any other Western-style democracy. And after the Wagner Act, things changed immediately. But you fellows are going on vacation, and thank the men and women of the unions who fought in the 30s and the 40s and the 50s for paid vacation.
Yeah. Same thing with 40-hour work weeks and even having a weekend.
Safety
Same
on
thing.
the job,
Yeah.
you know, the 8-hour days. I get on a list of things. And so you don't want to lose it. And the strike began on the 15th. And again, these men and women are talking about cuts to health care benefits, which we all talk about, and concerns about long-term stability of their pension plans. So we'll see what folks have to say.
Yeah, and some of those pension plans are important because there are times over the course of negotiations that they have given up increases in healthcare and increases in wages in order to secure the pension. They were like, we are going to give up advantages today for the long-term benefit. And now that long-term benefit that they gave up some of the immediate gratification for is now in jeopardy. And that ain't cool. That's not cool. If you have an agreement that we're going to give up something now and we're going to have something later, don't come back to me and say that we messed it up and I can't give you this something that I promised you later.
But the days of the union are coming to an end. I mean, the industrial unions in this country are gone.
It's sad, but yeah.
And the biggest, and it's the unions I don't like, public sector unions. Teachers unions.
I agree with you on that because when they strike, you have no other alternative. Like right now, Safeway has a strike. I can go to King Soopers.
Yeah.
If the teachers strike, I got another alternative.
Well, they also, and FDR warned about public sector unions. And Harry Truman broke the coal miners during the war.
Yeah.
So there's been, good and bad, but public sector unions, I have no time for.
Yeah, me either.
Now, Pete, I want to go back to guns here and ask, this is where I feel the greatest change in Colorado has taken place since I moved back. I was born here, lived here until college, went to college in California, grad school, D.C. for 6 years, now here. If you even hinted at a gun restriction law in 2013, you were recalled. That was 2013.
Absolutely.
Those recalls took place. By 2025, they could literally pass any gun law they want.
And they did.
And that's a 12-year change on an issue that went 180 degrees the other direction.
And whose fault is it?
What do you think?
Republican Party.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you on that too.
Why is it the Republicans?
The Republican Party, the losses in the ranks of the Republican Party as it dwindled and was beaten and beaten and beaten and beaten again, allowed these progressives to gain the seats, to get the jobs, to be able to pass.
You don't think it's a
laws.
demographic change? I think just different people moved into the state, like in large numbers, to the point where Democrats are like, well, we'll run whatever gun law we want.
Point of it is, Republican Party, the bulk work was, for whatever reasons, I think it was a lot of their own philosophies, were defeated. And the people who got their hands on the power, they passed firearms restrictions. I think they want to do away with concealed carry.
That's right.
I mean, the idea of any of us who understand concealed carry or have been through concealed carry, that you have to lock. I'm trying to find my yellowed out concealed vehicle storage. Colorado now requires, as of this morning, firearms to be stored in locked containers or locked cases when transported in a vehicle. What's the purpose? I mean, it's none of my business whether.
Well, I think they don't want people having their guns stolen out of their cars when they're parked, because that happened to a lawmaker. Which one did that happen to?
Oh, yeah, they got his gun stolen. But no, here you are. You carry for a reason, and so if you had to unlock the case or unlock the box to get to your firearm, while something's going on outside your vehicle and your family's with you, and I mean it's nuts.
Well, help me understand how you think Colorado Democrats have changed, because old school Colorado. Let's go back Roy Romer days.
Different
right?
guy, different Democrat. Roy Romer probably couldn't become dog catcher today.
Yeah, I mean was he anti-gun? I'm trying to remember.
No.
So the nature of the Colorado Democrat has changed. the electorate has changed.
Yeah.
I mean, they might as well just walk right into San Francisco.
Look what's happening in New York City.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy's openly a socialist, probably closer to a Trotskyist. And he looks like he's going to win. So we had that young socialist in here on Saturday, nice enough kid, but his depth of knowledge was...
Who'd you have? Deep?
Oh, the young fellow came in. Said he was a democratic socialist, and
we had one on last week too, earlier this week.
The only place that any of this is still alive is college campuses. that they bring these guys out.
Yeah.
But again, the idea of this is the only right that you have in the Constitution that you have to ask the government permission for.
Correct.
There is no other right that you have to turn to the government and ask for permission. This is the one, and they want to bring it down tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. When it comes to concealed carry permit charges, I did some work on this. Enhanced training. So the training is the law now specifies that training for CCWs must be in person. I don't know what that means. Live fire requirements. In other words, you have to go to the range and live fire for somebody, and they have to approve your ability to pull the trigger. Background checks. Applicants with certain misdemeanor convictions within the past 5 years will be denied. I haven't read what those misdemeanor convictions are. Traffic. I mean, there's all kinds of things that are misdemeanor convictions. And they're looking for ways. The new law restricts the sale of semi-automatic firearms that can accept, this is the important part, detachable magazines. And so, in other words, ARs.
Yep.
In particular.
And Glocks and
Yeah.
anything like that. You know, I've always, when I talk about guns, I point out there's 3 different groups that can possess guns in America. Okay, you have the government.
Yeah.
Government can possess a gun. Law-abiding citizens can possess a gun, and then criminals can possess a gun. Those are the 3 realities that we live in. What I've noticed is we only write laws about one group.
Citizens.
Which is law-abiding citizens, right?
Of course.
It's already illegal for criminals to be able to get guns. We don't seem to put a lot of effort into stopping that. We never put any restrictions on the government owning guns and what they're able to do with guns. It seems like we're locked and loaded, literally, on
so to speak,
one group of people, and it's those that would likely never do anything to harm anybody anyways, but we're going to continue to make them jump through further and further, more detailed hoops in order to practice their right.
When you read Jefferson, and in particular when they talk about firearms, guns, it is about a buffer between you and the government.
Correct.
And there's an ideology that runs through this history that says the First Amendment, the one that you and Billy, we all make our living from, the First Amendment remains there only because of the Second. That the First Amendment, your right to speak, remains there because of the Second.
Correct.
And Jefferson thought it. Jefferson was against 3 things. One was a standing army. The other one was a national church, and the third one was a national bank. Well, we have a national bank.
And we have a standing army.
And we have a standing army. So what's left is a national church. Jefferson feared these things because he saw them in Europe. Yeah. He saw what the Catholic Church or the Church of England could do. He feared that. He feared standing armies because they could, but he wanted that armed militia. He wanted the men and young men, and I suspect some women, were going to be armed just in case. And if you know when the so-called British, they say the Redcoats are coming, which they wouldn't have called them that, they were coming to Boston. It was a gun grab. They were coming for the powder. It was, and the government is capable of doing that. And Jefferson feared it, and so he said, "You got a right."
It's going to be a great conversation. This Saturday, Peter Boyles will be on from 9 to 1, and then all of next week, Pete.
I got your show.
In the captain's chair.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for giving me a little break. We're going to go camping. It's going to be great.
Where are you going, Billy?
Thank you.
Mom's house.
That was that's what we did. Grandma's.
My mom's had knee replacement surgery. So starting on the 4th, I'm taking over from my brother who's in town right now. So that's it. My vacation is going to be spent, 8-9 hours a day with mom, which isn't necessarily bad.
People said
it's bad for her, but
Where'd you go on vacation when you were a kid? I went to grandma's.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly what it is. Just like being a kid.
Peter Boyles,
Thanks,
great
guys.
show, 9 to 1 Saturday, and then all next week from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Peter Boyles will be in the captain's chair. Always appreciate you coming by, giving us a heads up of what you're going to be covering this weekend. All right, let's talk our friends at Mountain High Appliance. Get the Mountain High Appliance right now for their huge 4th of July clearance sale at all their locations, including the Denver Clearance Center. Check out their display models, closeouts, scratch and dents from brands like GE, LG, Bosch, and more. Enjoy their special financing options and price match guarantee. Experience the difference today. When you think appliances, think locally owned. Mountain High Appliance will continue. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. It's going to be 94 degrees today. Sunny, warm tomorrow. Scattered thunderstorms, 93. 88 on Friday. It is just that time of the year. It is July, and if your air conditioner is working hard, maybe even overtime, trying to keep the house cool and you're dealing with problems, you got to give the folks at L&L Heating and Air Conditioning a call. We had problems with our AC last year, frozen line through and through. Talked to a number of different companies, and they pretty much all said the same thing. Your system's outdated, it's too small for the house, it needs to be improved, all that stuff. So went with L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. It was a one-day installation process, no stress, personal service from start to finish. They followed up to make sure everything was perfect. Our home now totally comfortable. I can adjust the temperature on my house with my phone, which is awesome. With L&L Heating and Air Conditioning, we got peace of mind. Here's the deals they're offering right now. Free programmable thermostat or carbon monoxide detector with new furnace or air conditioner installation. They're not going to charge you any emergency charges to come out. It's a $0 trip fee. Price match value guarantee on equipment, free estimates, licensed and insured, and a 5-year labor warranty. Everything works great. Our family couldn't be happier. So if you're looking for fast, honest, and reliable service, I highly recommend L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. Here's their phone number, 720-851-1691, 720-851-1691, online at bestdenverhvac.com. bestdenverhvac.com. I'm sure glad we called him. That phone number again, 720-851-1691. Well, it's been a great show today. If you missed any of it, especially the discussion with Representative Gabe Evans on the big, beautiful bill, heading back to the House of Representatives, and my sense from his conversation is that he's going to support this thing.
Yeah, I think he will too.
No big issues.
Okay, now if we're going to Vegas, we're going to take the Jeff and Bill pool of 50 cents, but let's just imagine it's $10,000. What do you put on Vegas today? Does the big, beautiful bill come out of the House, or does it fail? Where would you place your money today?
Right now? It definitely comes out of the House and is on the president's desk by July 4th.
Now, is it coming out of the House?
Signed into law.
Coming out of the House with changes or without? Do you have to go back in committee or anything? No? You think without changes? I think you're right.
You know why?
Why?
Because members of Congress want to go home.
See. Now, here's what's wonderful, okay? We've had a lot of disagreement throughout the show. Here at the end, we totally agree. You and I would be placing the money down on the same bet, my friend. There it is.
Same reasons, too? You think they just want to go home and celebrate the 4th of July?
Holy crap, what have we done? We found agreement today. That's it. We got to go home before this goes aside. It goes awry. This is crazy.
Came together at the end of the show.
Just like the movies.
We're going to go hug it out.
Yes, we are.
You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader News Talk 710 KNUS. It's Wednesday. We're getting closer.